Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. My name is Martha Wanjiro Samuels. Many of my Kenyan people know me as Mama Abby because that's who I am. Today I come looking at you, talking to you with a concern over my head, in my heart, and really turning my stomach upside down. We are talking about a story that should shake us to our core, to be honest. It should shake us to our core. This is the story of Mo, a young woman whose life was torn apart by a teacher she trusted, Mr. Peter Airo. It's not a story, not just the abuse. It's a story not just the abuse, but about a system that failed her at every turn. Now, I know you have all probably heard, read comments here and there about this story, but I would like to take us a little bit back to 2010 when we inaugurated our constitution. In Kenya, our constitution guarantees that every child has to be protected from violence, from abuse. Article 53 is clear that every child has a right to be safe, to be free from all forms of abuse, from neglect, and from exploitation. Further, the Children's Act of 2013 reinforces this by mandating that abuse be reported and promptly acted upon. No exceptions. And there are provisions for that. Now, I read the first part of Mo's story, and every turn of it made me sick. Every turn of it made me sick. Mo's story shows us the devastating consequences when those protections are not upheld. Now, I'd like to just read for us excerpts of the 2010 Constitution when it comes to children's rights, and also excerpts of the Children Act of 2013. Now, when it comes to protecting children's rights under the Constitution 2010 in Kenya, key provisions that are relevant to this are Article 53, which talks about the rights of children, says that every child has a right to freedom from abuse, from neglect, from harmful cultural practices and all forms of violence. Every child has a right for protection from all forms of discrimination and harmful treatment. The child has access to basic needs, including education and health care. The state must take legislative policy and other measures to protect the child from all forms of violence, abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Article 10 of the same constitution, under the children's rights, the national values and principles of governance, includes respect for human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, and non-discrimination. The failure to protect children from abuse violates these constitutional principles. Article 20, enforcement of rights. Every person has the right to institute. Every person, this is the constitution, that every person, you and me, we have a right to institute court proceedings for the enforcement or protection of any rights or fundamental freedoms under the Constitution. Survivors and advocates can demand accountability. Article 24 on rights of vulnerable groups, of which children are listed under vulnerable groups, says that they require special protection by the state. Our children require special protection by the state. Now, In this first part of the 2010 Constitution and Article 53 under the rights of children, when I read Mo's story and what has been going on in Alliance Girls, specifically for this case, there was very many failures along the way. I went to a boarding school in Kenya. I went to school in Kaimosi Girls High School, for those who know where Kaimosi Girls High School is. And I will tell you, without fear of any contradiction, that the principal would sniff bad behavior a mile away. That if by any chance, say, for example, she used to bring us bananas or avocados on Sunday for dinner in the evening. And she would bring those before we go for dinner. And she would have counted how many tables, so how many avocados of how many bananas for each student. If any student missed a banana or an avocado, this woman, mad respect to her, within a very short period of time, she will have found out how the avocado left the sack or the basket that she came with, who took it, where they sat when they were eating the fruit or the avocado, where the leaves are buried and where the seed is buried as well, where the peel or the seed is buried. Now, you cannot tell me that the two school principals of Alliance Girls High School failed to notice that there was something amiss about this human being, Mr. Peter Airo. I'm ashamed to call you a mister, because to me, you are just an animal. Any form of a human being that preys on children has no right standing, should not be regarded as a human being. You're an animal, sir. I've spoken to some people who knew Mr. Peter Airo from way back. He's a son among four from his father, who was a pastor of Crisco Fellowship Church in Kibera. And from what I recollected is that that guy was so snobbish, especially to the communities that came around, like from the people who were looking like less privileged. You know, there was a level of classism in his head, and he respected you based off of where you come from. His siblings got married, da-da-da-da-da. He wasn't. He got married at 40. And again, I have read, I don't know how true this is, but I understand that his wife is a former Alliance Girls student. Whether they fell in love genuinely, or whether he groomed her from when she was a student, I don't know. But all I'm saying is that 1 + 1, the math ain't mathing. Anyway, let me come back to what I was talking about. I was saying the school principals in this school, and I read that they were asked to comment on the investigative piece, and they said they are retired. They cannot comment. Now, if the 2010 Constitution is anything to go by, if this is anything to go by, then it binds them. They had a responsibility to report child abuse. Even if they did not want to ruin their reputation with this individual, whatever relationship they had a responsibility to actually report, even go to the children's office and say, report anonymous, and say, you know what, I do not want to be mentioned, but I would like you to come and investigate. Just come and do your investigation, you know, chini ya maji. Or you just come and the Teacher Service Commission, go and report to your boss, Madam Two Principals, shame on you. And you'd have told your bosses, this and this is what I'm observing one of my teachers, and because of whatever you wouldn't want to ruin, whatever it is, maybe, I don't want to say it, you would have snitched on him, and the Teacher Service Commission would have come and done anonymous investigation. But what did you do? You looked the other way. You turned your face away from the girls so that the abuse, the manipulation can go on. Shame on you. There's something in law called occupier's liability. You're liable. You're guilty. You are complacent. You're not innocent. You cannot claim, I am retired, I cannot comment. No, you can comment. And because you were the leader in the institution at the time, you cannot say you didn't know. You knew. Principals are like moms. It's like their antennas are always way up there when everybody else is down here. To the teachers, I know there's some principals in schools hold themselves in levels of like demigods. It's like you walk on eggshells around them. And yes, with what is happening in our country, jobs are not easy to come by. Maybe the teachers, you guys were scared to speak up for the girls. But guess what? You would have reported this anonymous. You would have reported this anonymous. You would have snitched even to your relative. You would have snitched to a friend and say, yo, I don't want to be quoted because I don't want to lose my job. But this is what I am observing in my school. Can you guys come and check it out? Because I don't like it. But if all of you kept quiet, all of you are cowards, shame on you. Shame on you for shielding a pedophile. Shame on you for letting these girls go through abuse for so many years under your watch. Shame on you. You do not qualify. You are not even worthy to be teachers, to be honest. What have we become as a nation? Like, that is so sad. Like the children, parents give your children to institutions and entrust you to protect them. You walk around in skirts and suits, yet you're just empty in the head. That is so shameful. Useless. What kind of training do you guys go through in teachers' training schools? What are you taught? Is there no section talking about child rights that you guys know about, yet you're going to deal with children? Or you think they are women like you? Yes, they grow up to be women, but they come to you as children. And you as an adult have a right to protect them. It's your responsibility. It's not a privilege that they have towards, it's your responsibility to protect them. So whether you are afraid of your principal, you did not have to go to your principal. You would have gone and snitched to somebody else who will tell somebody else and something is done. But no, you guys shielded this pedophile and he felt like he's invincible. And that's why he carried on his behavior for all those years, man. That is sad. 1999. And now this nigga is 50 years old. Like, seriously? All the teachers that went through Alliance, if any of you observed what was going on and you never said nothing, shame on you, you are all guilty. Now, before I become very emotional, let me read to us the Children's Act of 2013 that talks about legal protection for children. Part 2, principles relating to children. The child's best interests are paramount in all decisions concerning them. Former teachers and current teachers of Alliance Girls High School, listen, I'm schooling you. I'm not a teacher, but I'm schooling you. That the child's best interest is paramount in all decisions concerning them. Protection against physical, sexual, psychological, or emotional abuse. Section 18 talks about the protection from harm. Children have a right to be protected from maltreatment, from neglect, from abuse, and degradation. You guys watched all that happen. And to parents, protection from harm also requires parents, guardians, and institutions, including that school, to protect children from harm. So parents, you also failed. The many times that your children came home for holidays, did you ever have conversations with them? Did you ask them really what was going on in school? Do you have open conversations with your children to know what is really going on? Are you really interested in how they are growing up emotionally? Or yours is just to pay school fees and complain of how the cost of living is high? The cost of living is gonna keep going high. Since I was a kid, it keeps growing high. Now I'm a parent, it keeps growing high. That's not a conversation I should keep having with my child. They didn't ask to come into this world. I brought them willingly or otherwise, depending on who is talking about it. That is not a conversation you should constantly have with your child. And never to find out, because these children spend more time in school than they spend with us at home. So even you parents, you failed. You failed to protect these children. The children might be afraid. They don't know how to navigate. They don't know how to start. That conversation is not easy to begin because they're also confused internally. What happened to the intuition of a mother? What happened to the intuition of a parent? Section 29. This is where I am. Any person who has a reason to believe a child is being abused must report the matter to a children's officer or police. Yes, the police might start talking smack at you, bring evidence and shit like that, but we have the children's desk. And yet you might be afraid of police because, again, our regular police stations are just something else. But there are two main offices of the children's department, children's desks. Two main at the DCI. One is at the DCI headquarters in Nairobi. The other one is in Mombasa. What would have been so wrong with you walking there and telling these officers in confidence, mimi ninawaletea NIS information. This is what is happening in my school. Nyinyi kujeni tu mtafute vile mtatoa hiyo maneno, but aki msinitaje, mimi nitapoteza kazi. They are Kenyans. They understand. You think they would not find a way to come to Alliance Girls High School and smoke that perpetrator and smoke that pedophile out? They would have. But all of you, your cowardice, compromise these children's freedoms and rights. Part 5 talks about care and protection of children. And it says, establish procedures for the removal of a child from a harmful environment. And also provide for rehabilitation and reintegration services for abused children. This is where counseling should have been able to be provided for the children after the fact that you guys have reported this issue. But no. Section 57, Alliance Girls High School Management. Especially this one falls on the shoulders of the school principals, the ones of before and the current one. The role of institutions. Schools, religious institutions, and other organizations must create, the word is must, create safe environments and adhere to child protection standards. It is a must. They are also obliged to take prompt action when abuse is reported. What you guys just did was tell students, stay away from Mr. Airo. Tell a teenager today, stay away from so-and-so. The next question will be, why? Because this guy is coming with a soft lip. You saw better than they would have seen. It would have been a moment. That is when you tell them the details therein. But no. What did you guys do? Now, despite clear legal mandate, Mo's abuse was not adequately prevented, it was not reported, nor was it addressed. That is sad. The former principals who shielded this perpetrator, they violated their duty to protect. Sorry, but not sorry. You women violated your duties to protect these students. The Teacher Service Commission, your role is to oversight your teachers. Make impromptu visit. I do not know if have anonymous conversations with students. Must you just sit at Kilimanjaro House and wait for somebody to come and complain at the way you guys are corrupt down there? One moment someone complains about somebody, the next moment they're passing somebody else within the institution is telling them, yo, by the way, umeripotiwa huku. Kazi itakunywa maji. They come with a brown envelope and that story disappears. I know that to be true because I brought a complaint to the Teacher Service Commission in 2019 in May. And until I went to the streets in 2022, did the Teacher Service Commission behave? And even after that, they're still holding on to information that we are still asking them to furnish us with. Like, who are you for? Who are you for? Must everything be blown too big for you to act? Are you people supposed to be proactive, or you're supposed to be reactive? Are you fire extinguishers? I think the only people who are supposed to be reactive out here are firefighters. Even though they have a role for maintenance and checking to make sure things are working okay. But they're the only people who go to turn out fires. The rest of us have a responsibility to be proactive so that those fires don't start in the first place. Now, if this guy was bold enough to do these things in Alliance Girls High School, and yet he was a youth pastor in his father's church, Crisco, Kibera High, and the church that his dad did, that is in Rongai, the youth in that church, did you guys observe anything weird about this nigga? Or you guys just, were bowing down to authorities that you have not interrogated? The reason why Christians are being duped left, right, and center with false teachers and false prophets, because you refuse to engage the word of God directly. You want it to be, chewed for you and given it to you like a bird feeding its baby. It is disappointing that this is what our society has become, to be honest. If any parent, if any of your children during this entire period, if any of your children came to you and told you, I have observed 1, 2, 3 things that is happening in my school and it's a bit weird, it's awkward. If any of you had any knowledge of what Peter Airo was doing and you did not do nothing about it, remember, the Constitution 2010 gives us a right as citizens of this country to start a court proceeding. Okay, let's say you don't even want to go that way. You could have gone to that children's desk and said, you know what, my child has snitched this to me. This is what is happening in her school. She's concerned, but I don't want you guys to name my child. Please find a way how you guys can just go and investigate what's going on in there. And you would have found some information. Because not everything needs to be named. Children have to be protected. That's part of it. Being anonymous is part of protecting a child. But nah, you guys kept quiet because it's not happening to my child. You tell your child, you be careful, stay away from that man, don't do. But how about the others? These are the same people who are going, sadly enough, probably you have a son. And your son ends up falling in love in campus with the same students that was being sexually and psychologically and spiritually manipulated and abused by their teacher. Your child has just inherited a problem, which you would have fixed. But because at that particular time you didn't think like it is in your household, by extension, it comes to you. It will knock on your door. To the parents, alumni, and community of Alliance Girls High School, and I know this is rampant throughout our country. Alliance Girls High School is not a unique situation, but it's something. It's a situation. It's an example that has come out in the limelight, and we have to talk about it. Please support the survivors. Please support these students. Support their rights to justice and healing. Don't say she was 19 when she slept with that guy, so she was an adult. No. She had been taught. She had been brought into the system. She had been manipulated in her head. So at that particular time, she was still a child because this guy got into their head before he got into their pants. He did. And I'm glad to see Alliance Boys High School stand up and issue a statement to defend their sisters. Yes, that is good, but that's not enough. Please demand for transparency and accountability from this institution and from other religious institutions where issues were reported to and nothing happened. We cannot go on like this. The Teacher Service Commission, can you stop sitting at Kilimanjaro House and start moving around the country to your schools? Because your job is not just to hire teachers. Your mandate goes beyond hiring. Please do that. It's important. The Constitution 2010 and the Children's Act of 2013 provide robust protection for children's rights to safety, to dignity, to justice. Failure to apply these laws in most cases have exposed gaps that we now see. Closing these gaps requires commitment from every level. The parents, the teachers, the watchman, the principal, retired or not or present, you need to make sure that you close these gaps in every institution. And the Alliance High School Alliance Girls is just but one. It's just but one. Institutions, communities. The girls, when you went home and you told your auntie should have done something. You need to uphold children's rights, to hold perpetrators accountable so that we can build a safe environment for our Kenyan youth. You know, you're asking yourself right now why everybody, Gen Zs on the streets. Somebody's asking, people are asking, why are Gen Zs so angry? But you're forgetting. If we count backwards, for example, from 1999 to 2025, those are 20-something years, 25 years, 20 what? Well, whatever years those are. Those are the Gen Zs. And if they are from Alliance Girls, they probably are from another boys' school, and another, and another, and another. These kids have gone through emotional abuse. They have gone through physical abuse. They have gone through sexual abuse. They have stomached it all. For the sake of when I grow up, I'll have my freedom. They have now grown up. They are now in a country where there is no employment. They're in a country where private companies keep shutting down every single day. They're in a country where every single day they see how money that should have been able to open economic avenues for them to get jobs keep being wasted, squandered, and given as offerings in churches. The same churches that harbor perpetrators of, the same churches that harbor pedophiles, many of them, like Mr. Airo. And that's the place where our politicians, our governments go to take money to. I'm not saying all churches are harboring pedophiles, but I am saying that many of them exist. I can give examples from my own experience. My own experience. And when you see our president, for example, going to give money in these institutions, what do you think these people are feeling? You think it is easy for a young man to come and say, my high school teacher had carnal knowledge with me? You think it's easy? Or you think Gen Zs are they're just too easy people to deal with, that they can talk about anything? No, these are things that cut your heart, break your heart into pieces, pierce through your soul. And you're trying to look for an escape. And then you get to adulthood and you realize, oh, shooks, I'm trapped. So when you see all these Gen Zs coming out of the streets in anger, ask yourself, where is it generating from? Maybe some of it is coming from being in institutions like Alliance Girls High School, amongst many. Some of them, maybe their experiences come from being in institutions of higher education, in boarding schools, where they are handled like they have no rights, like they are less human beings, like they are children of a lesser God, and still treated or forced into silence under religion. It is sad. And I'm not just talking about Christianity. Man, it cuts across all these religions you see across screaming in our faces. Ask yourself where this anger is coming from. Because in my opinion, I feel that this anger is bottled. It's beyond economic. And if there is anything that can liberate a human being, especially when you have come through strife, is economic freedom. Now you have endured all this abuse, and then you get to your young adulthood, and you have nothing to write home about. You cannot even afford credit. You cannot even afford, you want to get a job, you want to get some meaning to life. You're looking for the meaning of life, but you still can't get it because it looks like everything keeps closing in on you. What do these people stand to lose? They've been violated physically. They've been violated spiritually. They've been violated psychologically. They've been violated sexually. And now they are violated economically. Would you think they have anything to lose, seriously? As a community, as a nation, we have a lot of work to do. I'm glad this has come out because then it exposes what our community is like. I have seen a lot ever since this story came out. Yo, guys, the issues, the things that are happening in our schools, and not just high schools, it's primary schools, it's children's homes, aka schools, it's madrasas, it's everywhere, my people. Sexual predators are being shielded by institutions, and these children are forced to silence because they are being helped, or because they are helpless, they are in schools, they can't do nothing. Where are you going without an education? I'm educating you, so take it. This is painful, but I pray as a society that we would be woke enough to respect the rights of our children, to respect the Constitution of Kenya on matters, children and human rights, and also the Children's Act of 2013. I beg our institutions, especially investigative arm, this is not something to let go. To the parents of Alliance Girls High School currently, talk to your children. And please, we want to see massive lawsuits going into the courts. Somebody has to go to prison, and he's not the only one. There are many. If we are talking about draining the swamp, this is part of draining the swamp. Thank you for listening to my rant. I hope we do something about it beyond tweeting and commenting on social media posts and blogs. I pray we have the courage enough to refuse and to say enough is enough. Because the truth of the matter is, the very fabric of our society, the Kenya we are fighting for right now, our children are being destroyed behind us. And this is where we are going to end up. We are going to raise a broken generation that will not be able to steer our country forward when their time comes. Let's fix it. Let us go back and evaluate. Where did we start being so complacent? The laxity, the failure of parents to speak to our children. Can we go back to having family gatherings around the dinner table and talk about issues? It doesn't have to be on the dinner table, it can be on the dinner mat. All classes respected. Can we go back to that? Can we be a society that shouts at the top of our voices when you see evil amongst us? Can we stop looking away and saying it has not affected me, because eventually it will come around you? It could be you have ignored that student who is going through that. They end up being your child's friend and they influence them. Or they end up being your child's spouse. And if not, they end up being your child's boss or employee. You're still You're doomed if you do, you're doomed if you don't. So the best thing to do is actually to do. My name is Wanjiru Samuels. Whew. This is Unfiltered Voices. Thank you.